Okay. Next part, we'll be talking about molecular mass. Molecular mass se pehle, let's talk about symbols and formulae. Okay.
Okay.
The concept will do in the end. So, I mean, symbols you are familiar with. So basically, every element or a compound has a name, right? Just say H2O, we call it water. CO2, we call it carbon dioxide. And then there's something called hydrogen. There's something called oxygen. So if you're talking about it, if you have to like write about it, like that's how people share knowledge, right? So you write किस तरह के reactions होते हैं, what are the properties, the fact that oxygen burns, if oxygen burns with carbon you get carbon dioxide. तो अगर like इसे पूरे sentence में लिखना it gets too much, right? So if you have to write carbon dioxide, you have to write carbon dioxide. Takes so much space, right? So in order to make it easy, another added difficulty is English में you call it carbon dioxide, but different places will have their own language and different people will call the same elements in their own language. Like English में you have water, Hindi में you call it pani, right? Something like this. Greek or Latin, some European language, you call it like aqua, agua. French may you call it something else. Different places have different names for things, right? And if you want to share knowledge, like especially now because everything is globalized. Oh, Sujil has given French may it's called O, right? Now different people, like if a French guy is talking about O, and if an Indian is talking about pani, how are they ever going to know that they're talking about the same thing? Thoda difficulty aa jayega na. So in order to make things easy, chemistry has its own language, at least as far as describing chemicals and reactions goes. And oh, was my pronunciation correct?
I guess, yeah.
Thank you. All right. But yeah, coming back to the point, in order to make this easy, chemistry has its own language, at least for chemical, to describe.
To make it, to make it more hard.
Standard, uniform, so that everybody understands it. So you call, like you just show water as H2O. So if you show any chemistry person H2O from anywhere in the world, they all are going to know that it's water. In fact, this didn't come very easily. Like this happened much later. Previously, people thought the elements were earth, fire, water, air, things like those, and they have their own symbols. Like, has anyone seen Avatar: The Last Airbender?
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, I just wanted to get
yeah.
Yeah. So there they show it, right? Each element has its own symbol, like something like this.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So it like different people had their own version for whatever they thought was elements until, obviously atoms and all were discussed. And then they're like, oh, fire is not an element. Fire is created because of, all of this happening. Water is not an element. Water is created because, hydrogen, oxygen come together. And hydrogen and oxygen are elements because you can't break them down further. Okay. So yeah, from that, like, the ancient people had their own versions. They had weird symbols like circles and I don't know, something like this, arrows, whatever. They had their own proper code language symbols, जैसे. So I am, I'll come back to that slide. So they had their own symbols until, more and more elements kept discovered, and they were like, no, we can't create shapes. It's difficult to remember all of these shapes. So we needed to keep it logical, which is why people started using alphabets. Okay. So that's the story of different symbols.
Yeah.
So I am asking,
So
what if tomorrow we
Yeah.
get to know hydrogen is made up of something? We already know that, Swayam. Hydrogen is made up of one proton, one electron, and
not
zero.
like that, like some other element. What if it's made of some other element, like which we
It's
haven't
like saying that it's a
discovered?
compound or something.
No, like we already know that. And we know, now we also know what protons are made up of. Like there's this whole branch
What?
of physics and chemistry called quantum physics or quantum mechanics. So you have something called up quarks, down quarks, strange quarks, charming quarks, and yeah.
Ooh,
And then you have
interesting.
you guys heard of this thing called Higgs boson? Like recently,
Which boson?
Higgs boson.
I don't know.
Higgs
Mama.
is a person's name, and boson is a particles. So this is a really important discovery because this is what matter is made up of. Any matter, like if any substance has any mass at all, even if it is like 0.00005 grams, it will contain this particle called boson. Yeah. Cyril knows about PIM particles. Oh, that's something I haven't heard of, Cyril. Interesting. Yeah. And
That's like, that is in,
It's from
Avengers, in Avengers, ma'am.
oh, it's something like
That,
means.
yeah,
It is like this only,
it's
like
from
Higgs
Ionic
boson. It's like that only. It is all quantum particles and all that stuff only.
I haven't heard of it.
Did you watch Ant-Man?
It's from
Array, it's
Ionic.
boring.
No, it is not.
Then
Array,
It is
no,
all
it's not
physics. It's
that.
basically all physics.
Well,
He
this is
always
like
goes
fictional
small and then big.
physics, but yeah,
Yeah.
real
Yes,
physics,
ma'am.
yeah, you have. I'm sure like
Real physics is Higgs boson.
so this person who discovered this particle, so Higgs had theoretically told that this is a particle, and then quite recently, some 5-6 years ago only, it was experimentally proved that this particle exists. So Switzerland में CERN होता है ना, CERN. They do all these quantum particle experiments there in the collider. What they do is like they take two atoms and then make them collide at like extremely high speed, like almost the speed of light. Itna fast they make
Oh.
them collide, and then
How do they do?
so they have accelerators. They use like electric field, magnetic field to push them along.
Oh, interesting.
So yeah, that explosion, like because of that explosion, like the atom itself explodes, like atom itself breaks into different particles. So and then you study, okay, what all particles are there. Like you have a lot of detectors, like you have a machine that detects like electrons, or a machine that detects like magnetic अगर कोई magnetic force है तो उसको detect करेगा. Then you have like an X-ray detector. You have different sorts of things for this, and then you record किसमें कितने किस तरह के readings आ रहे हैं, and then you figure out कि अच्छा ये particle यहाँ पे है. So yeah, all of that takes.
So can we see it like with any microscope or something? Can we see it?
So electrons,
Like the
you need extremely sophisticated thing. Like electron microscope is the most powerful microscope that we have, but ye sare particles, like electron is made up of these kind of particles, so it's even smaller, so it's difficult to see it with the eye. So you need to observe it indirectly. You need to see कि अगर मैंने ऐसे electric field किया तो how is that thing reacting. So based on that, like indirectly you figure out ki kya hai. Yeah. But anyway, that's all like quantum stuff. That's some of the stuff I myself don't like understand. You need to really get into it, like do research on that too. But yeah, coming back to like atoms level scale. So people figured out कि कुछ तो logical होना चाहिए so that everybody identifies कि if I'm writing H, then it means hydrogen and not like something else. Okay, so most of them atom is enough. Yes, fine. Let's stick to atoms a bit here. So I'll write the first 10 elements. Then 20 elements tak hai na tum logon ka. So I'll write the first 20 elements and let's figure out the symbols for those.
Hydrogen, helium.
Do you remember the order of these elements?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
It's hydrogen, helium, lithium, beryllium, boron, carbon, nitrogen, oxygen, fluorine, neon.
नहीं,
Oxygen के बाद
अभी नहीं
fluorine.
आएगा. Fluorine आएगा.
अरे no, yeah, forgot I.
But understandable. Fluorine are very similar. ठीक है. Fluorine के बाद neon. Yes.
I said fluorine only. I didn't say chlorine.
Oh, I'm sorry. I heard chlorine. Anyway, but you're right.
Fluorine, neon, sodium,
Magnesium.
Yes.
sodium, magnesium, aluminium.
Silicon.
Yeah. I had forgotten.
Well, aluminum.
What was after aluminum? Silicon.
Yes. उसके बाद
Is it?
Phosphorus.
Yeah. Phosphorus.
then
Sulfur.
yes. Then
Chlorine.
chlorine is correct. Then
Argon.
correct.
Potassium.
Potassium and calcium.
Are you guys able to see calcium or should I take it upper?
Yeah, it's
Ma'am, we can
visible.
see.
Yes, ma'am, it's visible.
Okay. All right. Hydrogen का symbol क्या हो सकता है?
H.
H.
Pretty easy, obvious. First letter hydrogen starts with H, तो इसका symbol होगा H. Next helium क्या होगा?
He.
Yeah. So whenever, like obviously helium also starts with H, like in H is already assigned to hydrogen. So to differentiate it from it, you take 2 alphabets instead of 1. So this will be He. Yeah. Lithium, you may think
Li.
हो सकता है, but L is usually used in other contexts, की like LHS, RHS वो दिखाने के लिए. So lithium go with Li. First 2 alphabets होगा. Beryllium,
Be.
Be is correct. Boron,
B.
E.
so boron would have been like discovered first, and because this is boron, first letter B, you give it B. So boron ke baad, if beryllium was discovered, because B is already taken by boron, you go with 2 alphabets B. Okay, carbon,
C.
C.
C. Hydrogen,
N.
N is correct. Swayam, Ni is already something else. Nitrogen.
Yeah, I know. I was just saying, imagine nitrogen be like Ni.
Yeah. Oxygen.
Oh. Yeah. Oh.
Oh. Fluorine.
It's F, I guess, or FL. I don't remember.
F.
No, Fe.
F.
Okay, F.
I guess.
Fe is iron.
Fe is iron.
So yeah.
Yeah, fluorine is F. Neon,
I am bad at
Ne.
E.
Ne. So nitrogen
N.
already
E.
N हो गया. So neon gets Ne.
Yeah.
Na.
Sodium.
Sodium N.
It's Na.
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 Why is it not
Yeah.
like S or SO or something?
Ma'am,
Ma'am, its
Something-
chemical name is something
Yeah.
from Na.
Yeah,
So that's
and
why
Greek
its
name is,
name is
Chemical
N.
name.
sorry, Latin.
Yeah,
Ma'am,
Latin
it's some-
name. Correct.
in Latin
So,
name it's
sodium is what you call in like Greek or general English में it got adopted. So sodium
Ma'am,
का नाम
natrium. Yes.
sodium
Ma'am,
है.
Yeah.
Ma'am, it is natrium.
Yeah. So Latin name is natrium. So some cases you go with the like उनका symbols Latin name से आएगा. Okay. So Latin name is natrium. So you can see first two alphabets Na stands for sodium. Sodium, fun fact, like this will be useful for you guys later on for like common name, chemical name वो जानने के लिए. Sodium के बहुत सारे compounds are called soda compounds. Like
Yes, ma'am.
baking soda is a compound
Yes,
of
ma'am.
sodium. You have caustic soda.
Soda water. No, wait. Soda water is carbonated water.
Huh. That's a completely different context for soda. But a lot of sodium compounds like baking soda, caustic soda, now I can't think off the top of my head, but yeah, washing soda is another one. So बहुत सारे sodium के compounds are called soda because that again comes because of their use and all of that. तो इसलिए because the base element for all these sodas are this particular atom, तो उसको बुलाया गया sodium. Okay. All right. Now coming to magnesium.
Mg.
Mg. Acha, before we go forward, because I'm seeing your typing Swayam, is notice how I wrote the symbols of all this. So this is like very, very, very extremely important. Symbols are always written in capital letters. Okay. So you can see all the single letters are all capital letters. And in case it's a double letter symbol, pehla wala should always be capital and dusra alphabet should always be small letter. Okay, that is extremely important. It will always be in this format. If you change anything, even a tiny little thing from this format, it is going to be wrong. Because the reason is, imagine, let's say carbon hai. Carbon monoxide is CO, right? See how I've written C and O both capital letters. So based on this, you can understand that whatever I've written as CO is made up of a carbon and one atom of oxygen. Suppose I write it as CO, agar ek letter capital, dusra letter small, this would be wrong because CO is actually the symbol for a metal called cobalt. Since a lot of you guys do art, you must have heard of cobalt blue, right? Like tubes pe likha hua hoga. So cobalt is actually a metal, jiska symbol hai CO. So the capital letter, small letter, jo bhi, whatever you write are so important so that this kind of confusion does not happen. So carbon monoxide is very, very different from cobalt metal. So you need to be careful what you're writing in capital and what you're writing in small letter. So that's an important point you guys need to take care of. Yeah. This is why whatever you've sent after chlorine, that is absolutely correct. That's how you need to follow. Sodium ho gaya, magnesium ho gaya. Now we go to the rest of the compounds. Aluminium.
Al.
Al. Aluminium hai na, second letter hai. Silicon.
Si.
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 Phosphorus.
P.
P.
Correct. Sulfur.
S.
S.
Chlorine.
Cl.
Yeah.
L.
Argon.
Ar.
Ar. Potassium.
K.
Okay.
K is correct. इसका Latin name क्या है potassium का? Why is it K?
It starts from K.
Yes.
Mom, it's mom, I forgot.
Yeah, it is
What is it?
calcium.
Like,
Helium.
yeah, yes, ma'am.
Yeah. So K for calcium, इसलिए symbol is K.
And Ca.
Calcium is Ca. Apart from this, you'll have like some other elements that you will be like just get familiar with.
Yeah.
Iron,
F.
Ma'am,
I
Fe,
guess.
ma'am, everybody knows.
Fe.
Yeah.
so iron is Fe because इसका Latin name is ferrum.
Where? Around.
Yeah. So like sodium, potassium, like first 20 elements, it doesn't matter. But what I write over here, it's important to note because their ion ka naam comes from the Latin names. So agar Fe forms cation, so if you have Fe2 plus ion, like by losing electrons, positive charge aaya. So if you have an Fe2 plus ion, this is called ferrous ion. And if you have like Fe3 plus ion, this is called ferric. Yeah. So some elements, it's like it is good to know the Latin name क्योंकि Latin name से ही इस तरह के ions के नाम आते हैं. So when you have like compounds like FeO, like iron or oxygen के बीच में compound, then if you know that 2 plus से form हुआ, then it will be ferrous oxide, which is different from ferric oxide. So that way. Copper,
Cu.
Cu.
Cu. Again, U तो copper में नहीं है ना. So copper comes from Latin cuprum. Cuprum. So इसके ion name, just like this, you have cuprous, cupric. Okay. Where zinc,
Zn.
zinc is Zn, yes. Or क्या elements? What do you need to get familiar with?
What's like Zn thing?
Ma'am,
Latin name.
silver and gold, which is
Oh,
AU
good.
and
Yeah.
um,
Gold.
Ma'am, 10.
AU
And
is
lead, which is
gold.
Pb.
Yeah. Gold.
yeah, and
is
lead
what?
also.
Mm.
Gold is AU.
Gold is
I guess.
AU.
AU.
Yes. Silver.
PB, I guess.
No, that's lead. No, that's lead.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right.
AR. Huh? Ma'am, it's AR.
Huh.
What?
Silver is Ar, again Latin name. So this comes from argentum.
But ma'am, even argon is there.
Ah,
right?
Yes, ma'am. Argon
Even
is Ar, right?
How come
Sorry,
silver
my bad.
is
Very good catch. So this is Ag, not Ar. Because argon is Ar, this is Ag.
Yeah.
Ma'am, then we have lead, which is Pb.
Ma'am, 10.
PB.
Lead is Pb. Tin. Tin is Sn.
I think Sn.
Okay, Latin names, gold is aurum. Silver is argentum. Argentum related to Argentina, like they both come from the same root word. I think Argentina is like rich in silver or something like that. Or someone from Argentina might have discovered silver. No, silver is one of the first metals to be discovered. So that's not the reason. But yeah, very closely related. Argentina and argentum come from the same place. Lead is Pb because this is plumbum. Plumbum sounds so much like plumbers, right? Do you know what plumbers do?
Ma'am, they
Yes.
fix pipes. I mean, water.
Water pipes, yeah. And in the olden days, water pipes for houses and all used to be made of lead, like even right from ancient Roman times. So that's why lead is called plumbum. Again, same root word. Tin is Sn because it's a
Stannum.
stannum. Yes. That's why you have stannous chloride, stannic chloride, that sort of thing.
Ma'am, what is for zinc?
Yeah.
For zinc, the Latin word for zinc.
Zinc is pretty straightforward. Starting with Z, instead of ZI, you take ZN, third alphabet. ZN is zinc.
There's one more. Ma'am, it's Mercury.
Mercury, oh good. Mercury also comes from a Latin word.
Ma'am, I don't know the full word, but I know the symbol of Mercury. That is Hg.
Hg is correct. So it comes from hydrogyrum. It's a little complicated. You don't need to remember it. It's just in case you were interested. कहाँ से क्या आ रहा है? Hydrogyrum. But yeah, Mercury is Hg. This part you need to remember.
Mom, can you go to the previous slide for 1 second?
You
Yeah,
notice
thank you.
this? Okay.
Yeah.
There's a couple more I want to give you guys. 3-4 more.
Yeah,
Purely
ma'am, done.
you may be like, I know in 10th you'll have reactions based on that. So it's good to get familiar with these elements. So just note this down. Okay, Swayam is noted down. Is everybody done?
Yeah.
I'm done.
Okay. Ashka, Sujal, Suhani.
Yes, ma'am.
Hi,
I'm done.
you also have joined in.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So from where did you catch up?
Ma'am, I joined here 3:20, so I've been here for like 40 minutes.
Oh, good. Okay. All right. Cool. So mercury is one, and iodine. Do you guys know about iodine?
Mom, how do we spell the Mercury Latin word?
Hydrogyrum. It's hydro, like water wala hydro, HYDRO, GYRUM.
Okay, thank you, ma'am.
Iodine symbol is I.
Yeah, iodine symbol.
Iron.
Correct. Oh, sorry.
What's
I
it
just
Latin?
was confirming this. So mercury is not hydro, it's hydra, HYDRA.
Yeah.
So I need correction. Iodine is I. It feels like saying serum. Mercury, hydrogyrum. Iodine is I, and do you guys know where you usually use iodine, like general?
Ma'am, like.
Ma'am, medicines.
Yeah.
Medicine.
Medicine, मतलब खाने वाला medicine नहीं, something that
No,
you.
ma'am, like,
I'm
yeah.
gargling.
And also to
Disinfectant.
purify water.
No, chlorine is the one used for purifying water, like swimming pools may and all that. Not bleaching, like not drinking water. Don't use chlorine for drinking, poisonous hota hai. But swimming pools.
Disinfectants.
Disinfectant, yes, absolutely. Iodine is for disinfecting, like on your skin and all that. Like if you guys have seen any medical shows, do you see like a brownish thing being applied before they cut into your?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, that's iodine ka solution. It's called tincture of iodine. Usme hota hai. It's not pure iodine.
And
it's
what happens?
iodine plus this thing. So it is a disinfectant. So skin ke upar jo bhi germs hote, it kills that off. So that when you cut, then it won't get infected. Tabhi operation.
Is it like Dettol? Dettol?
Yeah.
Dettol, okay.
Dettol is, I don't know if Dettol is iodine water because I always thought it contained some alcohol. I thought it was an alcohol based thing.
Ma'am, not like pure iodine water, ma'am, but.
Yeah, might contain. Correct.
The base is iodine, I guess.
Yeah, it's a really dark color. No?
It's also like some word related to salt. I think.
Iodized salt may, yeah, that's a good point, Aryan. So salt is just sodium chloride. Kyunki hamare body mein you need iodine for thyroid functioning. They add extra iodine to purified salt. So that's why it's called iodized salt.
Ma'am, even in printing ink or dyes and all that, it's also used, right?
It depends. Dyes मतलब किस तरह के dye है? Like if it's an oil-based dye, like oil paints and all, it's going to be carbon-based thing. Like उसमें iodine नहीं होगा. And sometimes, depending on the color, different metals are used. Like cobalt has that blue color. Chrome has like a yellowish, orangish color. So different metals for different colors. Mercury, iodine, bromine is another one. Bromine ka symbol, can you guess?
Br.
Br is absolutely right. B is taken over by boron. The next option is Br. Then what else would you guys come across? Barium. Barium is a metal, or like, again, it's just like calcium, magnesium. Barium is also another metal. And the only reason I'm giving you these names is because you will come across salts, you know, when you're doing reactions and all that, which is made. So barium ka symbol hai Ba. Swayam says, fun fact, saffron, green and white were the colors which made a terror in the minds of people long ago. Q?
Yeah, like before they used to use different substances for saffron, green and white. So they were dangerous, and because of like they were radioactive. So that's why like many people died. So and then that's why like it was a terror in that time.
Oh, interesting. Oh, nice. Good fact. But yeah. I can imagine, because uranium and yeah, when it glow in the dark, green color hota hai. Lead is also poisonous, you know, like no one knew that was poisonous.
Yeah.
Acting poison. That's why they stopped using lead to make like water pipes, because it was getting people sick and you know, it was having a bad effect. All right. Yeah, whenever we come across any new compound, then I'll come across, like I'll tell you guys about it. But yeah. Oh, and let's look at some noble gases also. Helium, neon, argon, we already discussed. Other than that, you have krypton and xenon and radon.
Ma'am, for iodine, what was the Latin name? Like
कोई Latin नहीं है. Iodine is just I, इसका starting letter I. All of these are pretty straightforward. I, bromine say Br and barium say Ba. First letters only. So krypton is also Kr, first letter. Xenon is Xc. And radon is Rn, because there is an element called radium which has taken Ra.
Why not use R? Simple.
R has a different meaning, like organic chemistry. Carbon compounds ke liye, you use the alphabet R that means something else. इसलिए element name के लिए you don't. So there are some alphabets, like R is used for something else. X, like a capital X, is used to denote halogens. Like कुछ reactions ऐसे होते हैं कि like you get the same reaction whether it's done with chlorine or bromine or iodine or fluorine. So in that case, you just use a generalized X, which can mean either F or Cl or Br. So it's like generalized stuff के लिए some alphabets are used. That's why you don't find elements with those alphabets. Same with something like A. There is no element with the letter A. So, yeah. Even L and D have like different meanings. So you won't find like specific elements ka symbols as this. Yeah, but yeah. So let me know when you guys have noted this down, and then we'll talk about compounds.
Yes, ma'am.
How do you use symbols for compounds? So Swani, Samriddhi are done.
Yeah,
Swayam is also done.
done.
Sujal is done. Ashka and Aryan, Ashka is done. Okay.
No, actually, I didn't understand xenon part. Like, why is it Xe
I'm
and
done.
not?
Because you use
Oh no! I remember. Yeah. I remember. Yeah.
okay. Then let's look at how to write like elements ke liye you have symbols. How do you write compounds? So some elemental compounds we have already come across, जैसे hydrogen gas. Yeah, hydrogen agar gas hai, like general elemental hydrogen, you write it as H2.
H2.
Yeah. So if you look at this, why do we write it as H2? The letter H tells us that we're talking about hydrogen. And the number 2 tells us that there are 2 atoms of hydrogen. And the fact that it's written niche, like isko bolte hai subscript, you write it niche because it is written niche, that tells us that whatever 2 atoms of hydrogen are there, they are chemically bonded. Okay. So I am yes, 2 atoms make it stabilized. Absolutely. It's completely 100% correct. It's related to stability. Okay. Now, what if I write it as 2H? What does this mean?
Two atoms of
Atoms of
hydrogen.
hydrogen.
This also means
But
2
they
atoms
haven't.
of hydrogen, correct? But what
But
does
they
it mean?
haven't chemically bonded. They haven't chemically bonded.
Very
I
good.
guess.
Yes, they are not bonded. You just have 2 random atoms of hydrogen just chilling around. H2 ke case mein, the 2 atoms are chemically bonded to each other. Okay, so that's the difference between H2 and 2H. Now, what about this? What if I write it as H2 like this? What does this mean?
H2. I don't know.
Ma'am, it's wrong.
Hi, absolutely. Both of you are right. I don't know is the correct answer because this does not mean anything. This is wrong. Okay, so this you will never use it to write. These 2 have definite meaning, so you need to be careful about which one you're going to write. So if you want to say that there are 2 atoms of hydrogen just randomly chilling, then you write it as 2H. If you want to say that those 2 atoms ke beech mein kuch to chemical bond hai, if they're attached to each other, they're forming a molecule, then you write it in the subscript over here. Yep. So that's like an important deal. So I'm going into philosophy. Yeah. Yeah. What else? So yeah, that's an important thing. So whenever you're writing it, like abhi agar questions answer karna hai chat mein, it's difficult to format it essay, so I'll accept it if you just type it like this, I'll understand it. But whenever you're writing it on a paper or when you're reading also, if you want to have the correct understanding, and even if you're typing, like if you're writing like an essay or presenting a paper or something, whenever you write compounds, like if you want to represent molecules, it should be written niche subscript mein. That's like really important. Okay. Okay. Huh?
Why do we write up like the same way H2 is written down? We also write up, right?
Oh,
Sometimes.
like upar essay.
Yeah. No. Yeah, I guess like that.
So this, like when it is written up, it means something else. So usually, agar koi bhi compound hai, some random atom, let's say X, and यहाँ पे कुछ number होगा, यहाँ पे कुछ number होगा. So these numbers represent something called the atomic number and mass number. Yeah. So atomic number, mass number, you write it. Sometimes you write it on the left side also, like it depending on how old or which textbook, which publication, you'll also see it written in this way. And sometimes it's written this way. Like all of these are representations of the same thing. One number is the atomic number and the other number is the mass number, the atomic mass.
I forgot what's like mass number.
We'll come to that later. Okay, like we are definitely going to discuss that. That's part of the chapter. So because we'll be getting into detail anyway, we'll do that later.
Yeah.
Okay. Now coming to compounds. How are compounds formed? Like now you know what this means. So if I have a compound, say something like NaNO3. What does this mean? Like, what do you understand from this?
Sodium nitroxide.
Yeah.
No, don't like. Let's forget about the names. Like, abhi name kaise hote hai, discuss nahi kiya na.
One atom of sodium and nitrogen and 3 atoms of this oxygen.
Oxygen.
Absolutely right. Correct. So this is a compound made of one atom of sodium, then you have one atom of nitrogen and 3 atoms of oxygen. Like all of them are chemically bonded. How they're chemically bonded, like you don't have to worry about that. Structure is like a whole thing. But this much you need to understand, that this particular compound contains one sodium, one nitrogen, and 3 oxygens. Okay. That understanding you need to have. So that's like the basics of how you represent compounds. Now, how do you figure out, if I take like 2 random elements and if I want to mush them together, what will be the compound that they are made up of? Okay, so we'll start off with simple elements. Like water is something that you guys all know. But why is water H2O? Water is H2O. But why specifically 2 hydrogen and 1 oxygen? So I am, yeah, like Sujal is right for this. So this is sodium nitrate. So there is a hint as to figuring out nitrate hoga ki nitrite hoga ki nitride hoga. That will be the next part. But before that,
I'm very, very bad at this.
don't worry.
Even the sulfide thing.
For confusion ke liye, there's like a proper logic to it, which I'll tell you guys.
Okay.
All right. Why does water form H2O?
Because there are 2 atoms of hydrogen and 1 atom of oxygen.
So if I
That's why.
combine hydrogen and oxygen, why do I always need like 2 atoms of hydrogen, 1 atom of oxygen? Why not 3 hydrogen and 1 oxygen, or 1 hydrogen, 1 oxygen? Why specific?
Ma'am, then it will be a different compound, and it won't.
Yeah.
Ma'am, I forgot the whole.
That is true, but from like what is the reason behind 2 hydrogens combining with 1 oxygen?
Yes, ma'am. Swayam, yes,
Stable.
ma'am.
Stable, yes, but stability kaise paega ye atoms? Like, why is this particular combination giving stability and not other combinations?
Because first cell has two
Valency.
molecules. I mean atoms. Sorry.
Absolutely. Swayam, yes, I think you went a little too deep. Aryan mentioned very correct. So the numbers here all depend on the valency. Okay, where valency comes from? Swayam, you gave the right answer. Like
Yeah.
it depends on ki kitne electrons hote, like atom mein, last shell mein kitne electrons hote and all that. But yeah, the main thing, the number is it basically depends on the valency of this thing. Okay, so hydrogen ka valency is 1 and oxygen का valency is 2. इसका मतलब है हाइड्रोजन को स्टेबिलिटी पाने के लिए it needs to form 1 bond and oxygen stability पाने के लिए it needs to have 2 bonds. हाँ स्वयं it needs to have like 8 electrons, but yeah, तो वो 8 पाने के लिए hydrogen requires to have like 1 bond, oxygen requires like 2 bonds. So that is the reason why, see, oxygen requires 2 bonds, right? So agar ek oxygen hai, it has 2 empty bonds, and then I have like a hydrogen with 1 empty bond. So yeah, oxygen basically, if oxygen forms a bond with 2 separate hydrogens, now this hydrogen also satisfied, iska ek valency satisfy ho gaya, like oxygen hai, hydrogen. So this hydrogen is satisfied with its single bond, this hydrogen is satisfied with its single bond, and this oxygen is satisfied with the 2 bonds. So that is why it is H2O, 2 hydrogens and 1 oxygen. Okay, so that's roughly, the logic behind it. If we have to go deeper, yes, it absolutely depends on the number of electrons. Okay, it's already 4:17. You guys have class till 5, no?
Yes, ma'am.
Can we discuss? Yeah, let's get into it.
Ma'am, we could extend it like for 20 minutes or something because
Yeah,
we
it's
don't have
interesting.
yeah.
Cool. So we'll be doing a little bit of structure of atom. So you found what, like, oh, the link with structure of atom.
No, ma'am.
Oh, basics of chemistry.
What is it?
Right.
Oh,
He sent the document.
thanks.
Ma'am, it is a really helpful workshop. It was there for us in 7th. It has all that nitrate, and all that this thing symbol and their signs
It's
and
a
all.
complete worksheet with
Yeah.
You
Oh,
have,
atomic number, mass.
you have the
Everything.
yeah,
I still have the
Oh,
hard
yeah, I
copy.
remember this. Lol, I remember this. I had filled
very
this sheet.
good resource. I'm glad you saved it, Sujal, or you found it somehow.
Ma'am, I searched it up in Google Classroom. I went to the archived classes and all that stuff and then searched it.
Nice. Good stuff. Like, this is a
I still have the hard copy of it.
Same here. I have the hard copy, but I can't find
this
it.
will help you till 10th. Like the fact that you have quick climb kya hai, slate climb kya hai. it's good that you saved it because this is going to help you like till your 10th standard proper.
I
We even
literally
have a question where we have to name compounds and identify the ions from the formula.
That's exactly what you have in this chapter. Like it's exactly
Yes,
the
ma'am.
and it's so helpful that you guys had this basics right from 7th, 8th grade. 8th में भी था ना शायद balancing equations.
7th
Yes,
only.
ma'am.
Yeah. Abhi 9th.
7th
I
we
used this
started.
worksheet in 8th also.
Yeah. Solely because of this worksheet, 50% of your 9th and 10th has gotten easier. Because in this, apart from the theory part की atomicity क्या है, like ये laws क्या है, apart from the definitions, rest of the chapter is just these symbols, formula, फिर compound का formula कैसे बनाना है, identifying the ions, फिर individual ions का names क्या है, like it's just all of that. Okay. All right. Now we'll do the valencies. Okay, we'll do it for the first 20 elements. Okay. So, okay, the main rule in chemistry is all elements want to have, or like 90% of the elements want to have 8 electrons in the outermost shell. Now, there are a few words here. Do you guys know what are electrons?
Yeah.
Okay, everyone?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
Okay, Samriddhi?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So electrons are, part of the atom. So atom is made up of a nucleus in the center. Nucleus consists of protons plus neutrons, and electrons are revolving in shells around the nucleus. Okay, so these places, like the regions around the nucleus where electron is present, those are called shells. Shells होते हैं, और shells में you have electrons. Okay, so these are electrons. Protons, neutrons are also parts of the atom. They are present in the nucleus. Okay, very nice, Ashka. That is correct. So this rule, the fact that stability के लिए, like if you have 8 electrons in the outermost shell, तभी stability आएगा. So this rule is called octet rule. Pretty easy, pretty logical name also. Octa is, something related to 8. इसलिए octopus has 8 legs. Comes from octa is 8 and pods is legs. Octagon has 8 sides. So octet, oct is like having 8 electrons. So octet rule is the fact that you have 8 electrons, you're stable. That is the thing. Okay. So in order to get 8 electrons, this is the reason why atoms react. React matlab they form compounds. Why do atoms form compounds? Is so that they can have 8 electrons in the outermost shell. Now, how do they form compounds? Is one way is by forming ions, and the other way is by sharing electrons. So अगर ion से बना हुआ है, तो do you know what does this mean? Like, what do you mean? Like, what do you call the bonds made or the compounds formed by this? Have you guys studied it? याद है?
Ma'am.
For me,
No? Okay. So if the compound is formed from ions, so that's called an ionic bond, and that compound is called ionic compound. And if it's formed by sharing of electrons, it's called a covalent compound. And that bond.
1 second. Okay.
The main thing is atoms want to be stable. stability पाने के लिए, what is that octet rule? Like उनको 8 electrons चाहिए. Now it's not necessary that they always have 8 electrons. So the number of protons and neutrons and electrons differ from atom to atom, like element to element. So if they don't have 8 electrons, they'll look for ways to get 8 electrons. How they get 8 electrons is by forming compounds. So इसलिए atoms react. So in order to get those 8 electrons, sodium and chlorine react with each other to form sodium chloride. That's the whole reason you have compounds. Like that's the whole reason you have water, you have carbon dioxide, you have carbon monoxide, you have methane, all of the compounds. Okay, so how do you get like react? Matlab, how do they react? How do they form compounds? Is either they lose or gain electrons. Matlab, they form ions, either positive ions or negative ions, or they can share electrons with each other. So if they take the first route, जो भी compound बना उसको हम बोलते हैं ionic compound, क्योंकि ion से बना हुआ compound. If they have shared electrons, we call them covalent compounds or covalent bond. Okay. Yes, why?
Ma'am, how many electrons can the third shell like contain?
8
8,
electrons.
I guess.
Like technically it's 18, but
18, yeah.
yeah, like maximum capacity hai 18, but the way it is filled, 2 electrons, 8 electrons, 8 electrons, and then you come back, and yeah, that's how it goes.
So, like, what if someone asks, like, how many electrons in M shell? Then what do you have to write? 18 or 8?
Like if it's just asked what is the maximum capacity of electrons in the third shell, then it is 18. But if they specifically ask how many electrons in M shell of calcium, then you have to write 8, because calcium only has 8 electrons in reality.
Okay.
But yeah, coming back to this, yes, so this is the thing. Are you guys clear about this? What is ionic
Yes.
covalent?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Yeah, the whole reason for all of chemistry is this octet rule. Because of octet rule, because atoms want 8 electrons, they look for many different ways to get those 8 electrons, and that's why they end up forming all these different types of compounds that we have. So depending on which element it is, kuch elements like metals ke liye, it's easy for them to lose electrons. Like metals, like if something forms a cation, that is a metal. So metal ke or non-metal ke beech mein you have ionic compounds. And agar do non-metals hai, as Sujal said, water is made of hydrogen, oxygen. Dono non-metals hai और उनके बीच में होगा covalent bond. ठीक है? So this is like the main, like a debrief of this. So going forward, a lot of chemistry that we study is, about when do you get ionic compounds, when do you get covalent compounds, and how do, all these different things react with each other, things like that. This is like the most basic, in one line, this is what chemistry is. All right, so again, like when they form ions, किस तरह के ions form करते हैं? Okay, so what is formation of ion? Sujal remembers covalent bond from a joke. क्या है joke?
Ma'am, it was it is, I don't know if it is good, but a man goes to the restaurant and asks for water. So the waiter asks, which water do you want? So the guy says that I want the one where hydrogen and oxygen are in a covalent bond.
Interesting. I know a similar joke, which relates to that law of definite proportions. So 2 guys go to a restaurant, and the first guy says, I want H2O. And the second guy says, I want H2O2. And the waiter brings them both whatever they ordered. So the first guy drinks water, which is H2O. The second guy, when he drinks, he dies or he gets poisoned.
Because H2, the it was not H2 and O2, both of them. That's the
Yes.
problem. That's the poison.
Yeah, H2O2, this is poisonous. That's why it's, yeah, that's the thing.
Oh, it's ma'am, something hydrogen like peroxide or something.
That is correct. So H2O2 is hydrogen peroxide. So this is used in, it is extremely reactive. It is used a lot in cleaning. So teeth whitening may you use peroxide. You have to take like really tiny quantities of it, and obviously you shouldn't drink it. Just use it to clean things. And if you have like really difficult stains, like blood stains or like really something dying, and if you want to get that out, detergent se agar kaam nahi ban raha hai, then you use hydrogen peroxide. And have you guys seen the video where people mix two liquids and then there's a lot of foam that comes, like elephant toothpaste bolte hain?
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, that's a reaction with hydrogen peroxide. Yeah, hydrogen peroxide is very, very unstable. It wants to break down into water and oxygen. So it's because you have oxygen gas being formed. That's why that whole elephant toothpaste, like that's why you have the whole foamy stuff. That's
I'm done.
it. Okay. All right. Okay. So let's start with the 20, this thing: hydrogen, helium, lithium, beryllium,
Boron.
yeah, boron,
Boron.
carbon, nitrogen, oxygen, fluorine, then neon, sodium, magnesium, aluminium, silicon, phosphorus, sulfur, chlorine के बाद
Argon.
potassium, calcium. Okay. Do you guys know what is the valency for all of them?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
Ma'am, hydrogen is 1, then helium is 0, then lithium is 1 again, then 2, then 3, 4. Again, then nitrogen we have 3, and then I don't remember.
We'll discuss that.
Hydrogen, it's -/+1, right?
Yeah. Technically, yeah, it can form minus or plus. Covalent भी बना सकता है, but if required, ionic bond भी बना सकता है. Difference.
Ma'am, I've got a trick for remembering the valency.
Oh, what is it?
Ma'am, so like first you you write all the you remember all the symbols in order, then you just like you do 1 0 1 2 3 4 then again 3 2 1 0, and then you just go until you reach like calcium. Ma'am, it's very helpful for me.
That is awesome, Aryan, and that is actually, there's a logic why, like, that pattern is an important factor. There's a reason for that pattern, and that's like it's a thing. But I'm glad you remember it like that. Good stuff. Okay. Hydrogen can form either plus or minus 1. Helium is 0. Lithium always forms +1.
+1.
Beryllium is +2. Boron is +3. Carbon is 4. Carbon is always capable of only covalent bonds. Nitrogen -3. Oxygen is -2. Fluorine is -1. Then neon is 0. And again, as Aryan said, then +1, +2, +3. Silicon is 4. And this is again plus or minus 4 depending on context. This is again 3, 2, -1, 0. And this is +1, and this is +2. Do you guys want the logic behind this? But logic ke
Ma'am, the
No,
signs.
logic is very easy.
what is the logic?
The logic like
Ma'am,
why
the
is it
atomic
plus
number
or
and
minus one like that, right?
ma'am is not asking what is logic. Ma'am is asking what is the logic for this thing.
Oh, okay.
Ma'am, we have to we can calculate it using atomic number and the valence electrons.
Absolutely. So there's something called electronic configuration. Do you guys know about it?
Yeah.
So अगर electronic configuration जानते हो ना, then it's pretty easy. So अगर last shell में if there's 1, 2 or 3 electrons, then it's always direct +1, +2, +3. But if it is 4 plus, like 4 to 8 electrons, then it is the number of electrons -8. जो भी value आएगा, that is your this thing. तो अगर for example,
Electronic. Okay.
हाँ, तो अगर 6 electrons है last shell में, then your valency is 6 minus 8, that is equal to -2. Valency होगा -2.
Ma'am, it's the circle thing, right? Electronic configuration.
Can you repeat that, Swayam? What about electronic?
The circle thing, right? We have to draw a circle, then add electrons on it with tiny dots.
I mean, you don't have to draw a circle. It's just the number of electrons that are there. So for example, अगर lithium है, lithium का atomic number 3, मतलब इसके पास 3 electrons है. How are the 3 electrons distributed? So you have 2 in K shell plus 1 in M shell. Similarly, calcium का electronic configuration है 2882. So
Yeah.
thing is called electronic configuration. Now you guys have done all of this 7th, 8th, so thoda familiar hoga. But Samriddhi, like where are you at? Like, how much are you understanding? What do you follow from this? Kya ho raha hai?
Ma'am, actually, I'm able to understand everything you have just explained. And as it's not started in my school, so I guess I'll have a lead in the school. So
Okay. So if at any point, if there's anything that's not making sense, something you haven't heard of, agar kuch aisa hai, to bata dena.
yes, ma'am.
Also, like, what about you in your school? Like 7th, 8th may have you had like an introduction to this? Have they touched on this? Kuch hua hai kya? Or is this like be doing this?
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, nice. You also have had the base. Sahi hai to fir. Everyone's at the same level. It's good. Okay. And okay, so now that we know the valency of all of this, once you know the valency, if you need to figure out compound kaise form karega. So the whole thing is when a compound is formed, so if you add up the valencies, it needs to add up to 0. So what I mean is, for example, if you want to figure out magnesium or chlorine ke beech mein, what sort of compound do you get? So magnesium ka valency kya hai? Swayam is asking, do you mean it should be stabilized? Yeah, stability, yes. Like if it gets 8 electrons, it will be stable, right? Now we're looking at the logic, like instead of all the time going into electronic configuration and figuring it out, is there an easy way to do it just by looking at this? Like, kaise kar sakte?
MgCl2.
Yes, you're absolutely right. But how did you arrive at that, Sujal? That's what I'm getting at.
Valency.
We interchange the
Yeah.
MgS, kitna? +2.
+2.
+2.
Is what valency?
-1.
-1. Abhi, if I take 1 mg and 1 Cl, I have +2 -1 total हो रहा है, it's still +1, right? अभी अगर इसको total 0 बनाना है, दोनों को add करके if I need to get 0, how many mg should I take? How many Cl should I take?
2 Cl and 1 mg.
There you go. So अगर if I take 1 mg and 2 Cl, MgCl2, तो फिर mg का total आ रहा है +2, Cl से total आ रहा है like -1 है हर एक Cl, but because we have 2 of them into 2 करने पे I get +2 -2 equal to 0 आ रहा है. Okay. So the funda is, if I take any compound, they are electrically neutral. Electrically neutral मतलब कोई भी electric charge होना नहीं चाहिए. Like total charge on it should be equal to 0. So when there is no charge, we say it's 0, right? Total number of positive charge should be equal to the total number of negative charge. So that's our funda behind how do we figure out कि magnesium or chlorine MgCl2 कैसे बनेगा. Okay. Another example, what will be the formula of the compound formed from magnesium and oxygen? दोनों का अगर एक compound बनाया हमने, send it over chat, send it on private chat. I want to see what everybody answers.
Ma'am, the name or what?
Formula. अभी तक ions का names discuss नहीं किया ना, so just give me the formula. No. Samriddhi, no. Samriddhi, you need to, like for this, Valency is important. So if you don't remember it, I'll put on the next slide. Swayam also no. Ashka got it right. Suhani got it right. I'm displaying the Valency. Try again, Swayam and Samriddhi. Sujal got it right. So magnesium is over here and oxygen is over here. So दोनों का valency है. Swayam no. Samriddhi, now you got it. Absolutely right. Aryan, you haven't answered yet. So Swayam and Aryan.
Yes, ma'am. Ma'am, could you repeat like what you have to do? I couldn't.
Magnesium or oxygen के, if I form a compound with magnesium and oxygen, उसका formula क्या होगा?
Okay, ma'am.
So I am send it on private chat. No, I haven't gotten the answer from Aryan yet.
Oh, I didn't realize. Is it this?
Yeah. So I've highlighted Aryan, yes, absolutely. Yeah. So Samriddhi, Valency दिखाने के बाद you got it. Swayam, what happened? Like 3 tries लगे. Where did you get confused?
No, I was imagining something else.
Simple. Magnesium का +2 है, oxygen का -2 है. So if I take 1 magnesium, 1 oxygen, they get cancelled out. It's equal है. So you have MgO. Okay.
Ma'am?
Yeah.
Ma'am, it's a weird question, but why don't we take oxygen first and then magnesium? Like OMG.
It's convention. Like I'll discuss that. Like let's get you guys comfortable with figuring out the formula. Uske baad I'll touch on all these rules.
Okay.
Okay. Next is sodium and oxygen. If I make a compound between sodium and oxygen, what am I going to get? It works out with his name, Swayam Planet. It's his own planet. But yeah,
I'm the owner of it. I'll ban Sujal and Aryan from there.
Okay, sodium and oxygen. Send your answers. Wait, I think you guys need.
I guess I got.
Ashkar, try again. I'm showing the valencies now.
Is it this?
Ma'am, I didn't hear you, ma'am. Like, what do we have to do? I was in the chat.
Sodium and oxygen, Aryan. Sodium oxygen ke beech mein what compound you get? Samriddhi and Swayam have gotten it. Absolutely right. Ashkan, have you got it? Sujal also got it. Suhani got it. Yes. आर्यन सोडियम एंड ऑक्सीजन सोडियम है इधर ऑक्सीजन है इधर
Ma'am, again in the situation also, why don't we take O before and then E, like, and then sodium?
आर्यन I just told you compounds हमेशा neutral होना चाहिए तो that minus should not be there.
Okay, ma'am.
The number of sodium atoms or oxygen atoms to get your overall. आर्यन got distracted. हाँ इसलिए ना questions पूछ रहे हैं. Aryan has sent. Absolutely right. Swayam is just banning everyone from his planet, huh? Okay. So sodium का valency is +1, oxygen is -2. तो -2 को neutralize करने के लिए you need 2 of the +1s. तो इसका formula होगा Na2O. This is right. Let's step up the difficulty a little bit.
Yeah.
Carbon and oxygen.
CO.
CO is like one of the compounds, but
So,
Sujal got it, yes.
oh, I got it.
Samriddhi got it, yes.
Wait.
Swayam,
Yeah. I guess it's this.
let Suhani, Ashka, and Aryan also answer.
Arey, no. I again. Okay. That's one. This.
Aryan got it.
Ma'am, I almost put it in everyone's chat. Oh, no, so Swayam is like.
I was your savior, right?
No, like you put everything in everyone's chat.
Ashka, yes, that is correct. Suhani, where are you? Suhani also sent it. Yes.
It was not going. Then like it's raining here. So
Oh, network. Acha, thoda late kya. Yeah. CO2 is absolutely right. C is valency is 4, oxygen is 2. Agar dono ko neutralize karna hai, so you need 2 of oxygen. So it's like CO2. Okay.
But why not CO?
CO is also like CO also exists. That's not like the most stable. Yeah, it's not the most stable.
Yeah.
Agar CO ko kuch chance mila na, it's going to react and turn into CO2. Okay.
Yeah, God.
Okay. So at least
Everything depends on
two elements ke beech mein, you guys have gotten the hang of this thing. Some rules, like Swayam raised a valid point. Hamesha na, it is a Hamesha, like whenever you write the cation or something that loses electrons is written first, followed by the anion or something that gains electrons. Yeah. Have you guys heard of this word called electronegativity?
No.
No?
Yes, ma'am. I've read that somewhere.
You have read that somewhere. Okay.
What was that? Electro what?
Electronegativity. So electro
It would be negativity
or
in electrons.
Okay, if you don't
Oh,
have
ma.
heard of it, no issues. You'll come across this in grade 10 as just seeing if you have heard of it. Not. If you haven't, no issues.
It's like is it given in the representation like we represent something like that?
Representation.
Ma'am, this electronegative is like neutron minus proton or something like that. I forgot.
Oh, no, it's not neutron minus proton. No, that it's not related to that. It's literally related to this thing. Yeah. It's related. So electronegativity is like how well an atom can attract electrons. But yeah, we'll go deeper into that. You'll have it in grade 10. Now you don't have to worry about it. Literally, you don't have it in the syllabus. But generally, you always write the cation first, followed by the anion. That's like the standard. Again, the reason we have symbols, the reason why we write it in a specific way is to let everyone have that same understanding, right? So that's, again, it's the convention that cation is written first and anion is written later. It's just convention. It's just what everyone agreed ki aisa likhna chahiye, so that there is no confusion. Okay. Here, Swayam. Guys, is everyone here? Are you like
Yes, ma'am.
chat?
Yes, ma'am.
Everyone is chatting.
Why? I kind of expected that. Always the
But no, I heard you.
okay. Always the cation first, followed by the anion. Abhi tak we practiced using some elemental ions, but you have something called polyatomic ions also. Can you guys figure out what are polyatomic ions? Based on the name? Hello?
Can you repeat?
What do you mean by polyatomic ions?
Ma'am, I don't remember.
You don't have to remember.
Ma'am, is it when you add up the cations and anions, it is more than 4 or 3 or 4 or something?
Kinda, but no, that's not correct. But like you're close to it. What do you mean by polyatomic? Like where have you heard this before?
More than 2, like when you have 2.
Ma'am, when you have more than atoms.
When you have more than 2 atoms, what are we using this to describe? We are saying polyatomic ions, right? So these are basically ions with more than 2 atoms. two or more than two, basically. Something that's not single atom. Okay. So abhi tak we've been dealing with something like Cl minus, right? So if I have
Yes.
say Cl minus or O2 minus or Na plus, so these are all, it's like single atom se bana hua hai, ions. So these are all like regular ions, they are monoatomic. Polyatomic mein, you have more than one atom. So examples of this would be OH minus, because you have more than one atom making up the ion. SO4 2 minus, positive भी हो सकता है, NH4 plus, NO3 minus, so CO3 2 minus. So these are all examples of polyatomic ions. Guys, are you paying attention here? Or are you guys like chatting?
Yes, ma'am.
I
paying
am
attention.
here.
Ma'am paying attention.
I am
Yes, ma'am.
specifically looking at, so I am Sujal and Aryan.
Aryan, what are you chatting, bro?
I'm not chatting.
Why called out your name? All right. So polyatomic ions are just like regular ions, except they're made up of more than one atom, basically. So these are examples of polyatomic ions. Okay. So when something is ionized, cations have like a straightforward names. So cations is like jo bhi atom hai, that, and just call it ion. So suppose you have Na plus. Na plus is just called sodium ion. Na is sodium, and agar ionized hai, it's sodium ion. And similarly, what will you call Ca2 plus?
Ca2 plus.
Agar cation hai, it's just the atom ka name and just add ion to it. So Ca2 plus
Calcium ion.
calcium ion, yes. Okay. But when it comes to anion, नाम थोड़ा change हो जाएगा. Yeah. So anion names, you guys said this was a little confusing, right? So I'll tell you guys the logic behind it. It'll make it so much easier to figure out ki kiska naam kya hai. So there's 3 types of ions, or like 3 types, and do hai like you have some subtypes also. So the first type is if it is elemental. So that ion is made up of just the element. Like nitrogen hai, so it's simply N3 minus. Oxygen hai, so it's just O2 minus. Sulfur hai, so it is just S2 minus. It ends with ide. Okay. So if it is nitrogen, it is nitride. Single element se bana hua hai, so it is ide. Similarly, O2 minus का नाम क्या होगा?
Oxide.
O2.
Oxide.
Oxide. S2 minus का नाम क्या होगा?
Sulfide.
Sulfur.
Sulfide.
Yes. It ends with IDE. So Cl minus will be called
Chloride.
Fluoride.
yes. Now, if it is with oxygen, so with oxygen matlab there are so many
Outside.
ions with oxygen. So agar nitrogen का consider कर रहे हैं तो you have NO2 minus And you may have
nitrogen oxide.
NO3 minus also. No, not nitrogen oxide.
No,
So then
what would it be
you have
called?
to look at the number of oxygens. For comparison, I'll also give you sulfur ka oxygen wala ions. You have SO3 minus and you have SO4 minus. So if there's lesser number of oxygens, it ends with ITE. If there's greater number of oxygens, it ends with ATE. मतलब NO2, NO3 compare karo, so 2 is less than 3, right? So this is nitrite, ITE, and this is nitrate, ATE. So similarly, SO3 minus, what do you call it?
Sulfide.
Ma'am,
No,
sulfide.
Sulfide.
Sulfite.
ITE.
Yes, T for tango, sulfite. And this will be
Sulfate.
sulfate. And let's say, sorry, I made a mistake here, 2 minus. PO4, sorry, PO3, 2 minus, and PO4, 3 minus, and 3 minus. What's the name of these two? Just to be clear. So what is PO3, 3 minus?
Phosphide.
Phosphite. So phosphorus say phos, and because it's O3 like 3 oxygen hai, so it's phosphite. And this will be
Phosphate.
phosphate. Okay. So you still have to remember it, but no more nitrogen oxide, like वैसे confusion नहीं होगा. All your ions will be IDE, ITE and ATE. So difference is, अगर D है, then it's purely element. Like उसके साथ कोई nitrogen नहीं है, oxygen नहीं है, hydrogen नहीं है. It's just that particular element. अगर oxygen है, तो you need to check कितने oxygens है. So if it is lesser number of that same element, it's 8, greater number 8. So NO2 minus hai, it's nitrite, NO3 minus is nitrate. So SO3, SO4, 3 hai to 8, 4 hai to sulfate, phosphite, phosphate.
I'm done.
Done. So there's one more, CO3 2 minus. So this is carbonate. CO2 2 minus doesn't exist. So carbon ke case mein there's only one type, which is carbonate. Yeah. Then subtype of this, 8 या 8, इसमें से कोई भी ion ले लो. Like mostly you'll find this for carbonate and sulfate only. Instead of it being purely with oxygen, if you add a hydrogen to it. So for example, if you have HCO3 minus. So CO3 2 minus tha. If you add H ka valency 1, right? So if I just add one H plus to it, kyunki plus 1 minus 2 is minus 1, so charge ho gaya minus, and there's an extra H here. Then you just add a bi to it. So CO3 2 minus is carbonate. Because there's an extra hydrogen, this becomes bicarbonate. Sometimes this is also called hydrogen carbonate. Like sodium hydrogen carbonate, magnesium hydrogen carbonate, that's all. Okay. Similarly, if it is HSO4 minus, this is called bisulfate. Also, you'll also see textbooks में hydrogen sulfate लिखा होगा. It's just one hydrogen added to the sulfate. So pretty logical, pretty easy. Hydrogen sulfate. So both the names are correct. Just some publications use one way, some other publications use the other. That's it. If you come across either of them, you would not get, like, don't get confused. The same thing.
Okay.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
No,
Okay,
one
then easy.
second.
How do you feel about it now, Easy? Have we covered all the
Ma'am, easy.
So instead of trying to remember like 12 different ions, just remember 2-3 of them is logic ke saath, you won't go wrong. It's much easier.
Yeah.
Pure elemental ke liye, as long as you know the name of the element, it's just add I to it. So chlorine hai to becomes chloride. Iodine hai to becomes iodide. Fluorine hai to that becomes fluoride. That way. Other than these, like something that does not fall into this format, there are a couple of them. But that also is like pretty easy, simple to remember. So, एक है OH minus. Do you want to guess इसका नाम क्या होगा? OH minus.
Hydroxide.
Hydroxide. एक हाइड्रोजन है, एक ऑक्सीजन है, तो you just call it hydroxide. And the other one is not exactly anion, it's a cation. So I'll just put in a different color. So NH4 plus, it's not an anion, so just be careful. NH4 plus, this is called ammonia. It's also simple. So iska base hai NH3 is ammonia, that's a chemical. And because you attached an extra positive charge to ammonia, H plus add kiya, it becomes ammonia. So this is from ammonia. Isliye it's called ammonia. So this is a cation, so don't like mix it up with the anions. This is different. Okay. So once you have noted this down, let me know. So tomorrow we'll figure out how to name and identify compounds with these ions. So that will cover like your entire, at least the most common chemistry wale compounds. You can easily figure it out. Okay. Samriddhi, Aryan, and Ashka are done. So once the rest of you are done,
Ma'am, can send this presentation on the group.
oh, that's a good idea. I'll do that. Let me download.
This is presentation, PPT presentation.
No, this is a whiteboard, Zoom pe.
Oh,